All right, Skywatchers, we're going to take a look at the radar returns out of Nebraska and Wisconsin today. And what I want you to notice is all the sustained beams. Those are electron beams. They're converted from electron beams through a klystron tube in NEXRAD. These give you the sustained beams we're looking at. And that light blue pulsing you see from all the NEXRAD radar stations, that is electromagnetic radiation pollution, and that is a central component for weather modification. And then you're going to see a bunch of lines appear throughout many states. These are scalar pulses, and these pulses intensify the weather. One other thing we should note is that when they talk about cloud seeding is a small part of the operation. The big part of this operation comes in from all this electromagnetic pollution and these sustained beams that we're looking at. Now these beams intensify the cloud seeding project. So when they tell you 60 grams of silver iodide cannot create what we have seen, just know that is a direct lie. And these people like Augustus Dorico probably are not even aware of the electromagnetic radiation that is involved in weather modification. What's up, Skywatchers? What is up indeed? Monday, August 11th, 2025. The Nebraska lightning and Wisconsin floods, and the global pulse of engineered weather. Last night, Nebraska skies erupted in one of the most intense lightning storms in memory. Bolts firing in rapid succession, clouds glowing from within as if supercharged by an invisible hand. The sheer density and frequency of the strikes defied the limits of natural atmospheric discharge. The night before, Wisconsin was hit with a flood event of historic proportions. Milwaukee alone received over 14.5 inches of rain, submerging streets to the rooftops of vehicles and shattering the Milwaukee River's all-time record. Entire neighborhoods were inundated within hours. On the surface, these appear to be two separate and unrelated events, but the radar tells another story. NEXRAD reflectivity maps captured pulsing, symmetrical bursts embedded in both systems, the unmistakable fingerprints of electromagnetic interference. The clouds themselves were visibly pulsing, charged by sustained energy injections. These were not random fluctuations or quirks of the radar. They were precision bursts of power into the atmosphere. This is the result of a global operation. Facilities from Harp in Alaska to the South Pole Station, along with countless classified transmitters and satellites, working in concert to hijack the atmosphere. Every nation with the capability is contributing to the same sustained charge field, yet the public is told it's just nature behaving badly. Meteorologists will call them once-in-a-thousand-year storms, stalled fronts, or unseasonable moisture. But they are not trained in atmospheric warfare. They read from prepared scripts, interpreting within the boundaries of an approved narrative. They are not taught how to identify scalar pulses, beam convergence, or the electromagnetic signatures that reveal an engineered storm system. But I've covered this stuff for years, and I can see it, and the evidence is right in front of us. Stratospheric aerosol operations and evidence beyond denial. Defining the reality. The term chemtrails has become polarizing, often dismissed as conspiracy, yet it simply refers to stratospheric aerosols, the deliberate release of particulates into the atmosphere, while mainstream agencies prefer the terms like geoengineering, solar radiation management, or aerosol injection. The reality remains the same. These airplanes are deploying materials at high altitudes for purposes from climate modification to atmospheric conductivity enhancement and beyond. And these are observable patterns, and we witness it regularly. Jets flying side by side, one leaving no trail while the other is producing a long, persistent plume at the same altitude and same weather conditions. Trails spreading into vast milky sheets that blanket entire regions and even connect across oceans. The weather modification aerosols that we see being sprayed in the sky are interacting with weather systems, altering cloud formation, forming their own clouds, and creating artificial cirrus decks where none had existed before. Such patterns cannot be explained by water vapor condensation. They point to an intentional dispersal program. The contrarial narrative claims that these are plumes of harmless ice crystals. This fails for two reasons. Persistence. Normal contrails dissipate within minutes, not hours, and certainly do not expand into regional cloud cover. Selective formation. The side-by-side jet observation destroys the idea of ambient conditions alone that dictate trail formation. High-altitude balloons and unmanned platforms are also used to release aerosols, forming cirrus-type clouds far from traditional flight paths, a fact never addressed by contrail apologists. These operations are not simply about reflecting sunlight. Patents, military documents, and declassified research describe purpose, including ionospheric conductivity enhancement for communications and radars, laser-based precipitation triggering via cloud ionization, tactical weather control for military advantage, atmospheric lensing for surveillance or energy delivery. This is a multi-domain system, a fusion of chemical and electromagnetic tools. The environmental fallout of metals and electromagnetic radiation pollution. The biological impact is visible across continents. Trees in urban, rural, and wild landscapes are dying from the top down, showing symptoms consistent not only with heavy metal toxicity, but also with chronic electromagnetic stress. Aerosol fallout loads soils and leaves with aluminum, barium, and strontium, disrupting root uptake and photosynthesis, but the damage is compounded by the constant pulsing of wireless radiation from cell towers, radars, and satellite networks. Research shows that electromagnetic fields interfere with plant water transport, alter sap flow, and create oxidative stress at the cellular level. Leaves exposed to chronic RF radiation show tissue necrosis, curling, and premature shedding, symptoms now widespread even in otherwise healthy climates. Bees and other pollinators are vulnerable. Multi-peer-reviewed studies confirm that EMF exposure disrupts bee navigation, weakens immune function, and reduces the colony's survival rates. In combination with aerosols, which coats pollen, alters ultraviolet reflectivity, and contaminates nectar sources. These electromagnetic stressors accelerate the collapse of the pollinator population. This is the dual assault: chemical weakening through persistent heavy metal contamination, electromagnetic destabilization that magnifies biological stress. The result is a cascading ecological decline, forest thinning, crops failing, insects vanishing, a collapse driven by both skyborne particulates and invisible frequencies saturating the biosphere. Ultraviolet radiation and ozone depletion. Sulfur dioxide and other aerosol compounds can destroy ozone molecules, thinning our natural UV shield, and the result? A higher UV index reading than historically recorded, increased skin damage, faster material degradation, and crop harm, changes in plant chemistry, and reduced nutrient density. The same sun exposure that once warmed us now burns, a subtle but measurable shift. Contrary to dismissive claims, certain aerosolized particles can remain suspended for a year or more in the stratosphere, especially when engineered for persistence. This means a single deployment can have global impacts, chemically, thermally, and electrically. And even if one nation banned geoengineering, these operations are multinational and often run through military alliances, corporate contractors, and transnational research programs. Stopping them will require a global political will, something that currently does not exist. These programs are not rogue experiments. They are part of a systemic, coordinated strategy that merges climate intervention with surveillance, energy transmission, and even psychological warfare. The Wisconsin floods and Nebraska lightning are not outliers, they are case studies in a planetary operation. Storms and floods timed to pulses on the radar, moisture loaded days in advance, and energy beamed from multiple global sources at one time. The sky has become a battlefield, the weather is a weapon, and the air itself is the new medium of control. Alright, Skywatchers, stay aware, be prepared, and until next time, keep looking up.